I spent 10 years inside investment banking, and in that time, I sat across the table from some of the wealthiest people in the world. But here's the thing nobody tells you. The gap between them and everyone else had almost nothing to do with income. It had nothing to do with luck, and it had nothing to do with intelligence. It came down to 9 habits, 9 specific behaviors that wealthy people had eliminated from their lives, and that most people are still doing every single day without even realizing it. I know because I was doing most of them myself. Today I'm going to walk you through all 9, and by the time this video is done, you are going to see your financial life in a completely different way. Not because I'm going to overwhelm you with complicated finance theory, but because once you see these patterns clearly, you cannot unsee them. And that clarity, that is where real change begins. Before we get into it, I want to say something important. You do not need to be rich to use what I'm about to share. You do not need a finance degree. You do not need a 6-figure salary. You do not need to already be good with money. In fact, if you feel like you're terrible with money right now, this video is made specifically for you. Because these 9 habits are not about willpower or discipline. They're about systems, patterns, blind spots that the financial industry profits from keeping you in. And once you understand the pattern, breaking it becomes surprisingly straightforward. Here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to go through 9 bad money habits in order of importance. We'll start with how you're paying yourself. Then we'll talk about debt, lifestyle inflation, not knowing your real numbers, and expensive hobbies that are quietly bleeding you dry. Then we'll get into the bigger picture, why saving alone will never make you wealthy, how taxes might be the most expensive thing in your life that you're doing nothing about, and why waiting even one more year to invest is costing you more than you think. Each one of these on its own is worth knowing. Together, they form a complete picture of why most Americans work hard their entire lives and still retire with almost nothing. Let's get into it. Habit 1. Paying yourself last. Let me start with the single most important shift in this entire video. Right now, most people follow what I call the default money system. Paycheck comes in, rent goes out. Subscriptions come out. Phone bill, car payment, groceries, going out on the weekend. And then at the end of the month, you look at what's left and you tell yourself, I'll save that. Except there's almost never anything left. And this is not a coincidence. This is by design. Because your landlord, your phone company, your subscriptions, they all get paid automatically, immediately, without you even thinking about it. But your savings? That requires a decision. Every single month. And decisions are easy to delay. Here's what wealthy people do differently. They flip the order entirely. The moment money arrives before a single bill is paid, before anything else, they move a fixed percentage into savings. They pay themselves first. And then they live on the rest. The book Rich Dad Poor Dad calls this the single most important financial habit a person can build. And after a decade in banking, I completely agree. Here's how to do it practically. The moment your paycheck hits, automate a transfer of at least 10% into a separate savings account. Not at the end of the month, not when you feel like it, automatically, on payday. Within a few months, you stop noticing the money is gone. Your lifestyle adjusts, and your savings begin to actually grow for the first time, probably, in your adult life. This one habit, done consistently, is the foundation of everything else we're about to talk about. Habit 2. Getting comfortable with bad debt. Here's something that would have shocked people 50 years ago, but barely registers today. Americans are using debt to buy groceries, to buy birthday presents, to buy clothes they'll wear twice. Debt has become so normalized that most people don't even feel it anymore. It's just background noise in their financial life. And credit card companies are counting on exactly that. The average credit card interest rate in the US right now is around 22%. 22%. That means if you carry a balance of just $3,000 on a credit card, which is very common, you are paying roughly $660 a year in interest for things you bought and probably can't even remember anymore. The rule I follow, and the rule I'd recommend, is simple. If I cannot afford to pay for something in cash, I do not buy it with debt. Not for clothes, not for entertainment, not for anything that doesn't hold or grow its value. Now, I understand that's not always possible. Emergencies happen. But here's the mindset shift. Credit card companies are not your friends. The cash back, the rewards, the points. Those are designed to make the card feel beneficial so you keep using it. But if you're carrying any balance whatsoever, the interest you're paying wipes out every single reward you've ever earned, and then some. Bad debt is one of the most effective wealth destroyers that exists, not because of the original purchase, but because of the compounding interest that quietly accumulates in the background of your financial life for months or years. Habit 3. Having no financial buffer. This is closely connected to the first habit, so I want to stay here for a moment. Because paying yourself first isn't just about accumulating savings, it's about building what I call your financial buffer. A cushion of 3 to 6 months of living expenses sitting in a separate account completely untouched. Most Americans don't have this. In fact, surveys consistently show that a large percentage of people could not cover a $1,000 emergency without going into debt. That is a terrifying position to be in, because what it means is that one unexpected expense, a medical bill, a car repair, a job loss, doesn't just inconvenience you, it derails your entire financial plan. Your buffer is not an investment. It is insurance. It is the thing that keeps one bad month from becoming 6 bad months. Start building it through the pay yourself first habit we just covered. 10% a month. Don't touch it. Don't think of it as available money. Think of it as a locked foundation that protects everything else you're building on top of it. Once you have your buffer in place, the additional money you're saving each month can start becoming an investment fund. But the buffer comes first, always. Habit 4. Not knowing your real numbers. Here's a question, and I want you to answer it honestly in your head right now. Do you know exactly how much money came into your bank account last month? Do you know exactly how much went out? Do you know what your net worth is, meaning the difference between everything you own and everything you owe? If the answer to any of those is no, you are flying blind, and you cannot build a destination you cannot see. Here's what happens when income increases for most people. The spending quietly expands to fill it. Bigger apartment, nicer car, more subscriptions, more eating out, more online shopping. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it is one of the most invisible and destructive financial patterns that exists, because it feels like progress. You're earning more. You must be doing better. But your bank account tells a different story. Wealthy people are different not because they earn more, but because they know their numbers cold. They know their income, their expenses, their assets, their liabilities, and their net worth. They track where money goes, not obsessively, but deliberately. Here's the exercise. This week, not next month, this week, open a notes app or a spreadsheet and write down 3 things. Your total monthly take-home income, your total monthly fixed expenses, and your best estimate of your net worth. Seeing those numbers in black and white, even for the first time, does something to you psychologically. It activates a kind of financial awareness that simply cannot exist when you're operating on feelings and assumptions. The people who build wealth don't guess, they know. And knowledge is the starting point of every financial decision they make. Habit 5. Expensive hobbies and lifestyle leaks. This one is more personal and more uncomfortable. Some hobbies and lifestyle patterns are expensive, not just in cost, but in the compounding opportunity cost of what that money could have become if it had been invested instead. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not saying stop enjoying your life. That is not the message. The message is be intentional about it. Because there's a difference between spending money on things that genuinely add value and joy to your life and spending money on habits and patterns that are running on autopilot. Subscriptions you forgot you had, impulse purchases that were forgotten within a week, a hobby that started meaningful and became expensive routine. The framework I use is simple. Every month, I look at my discretionary spending and I ask one question for each category. Does this spending genuinely make my life better? Not more comfortable, not more impressive looking, actually better. If the honest answer is yes, keep it, protect it. Those things matter. If the honest answer is no, cut it, reduce it, and redirect that money toward your future self. This is not about deprivation. It's about deciding deliberately rather than spending by default. And that distinction between deliberate spending and default spending is one of the clearest differences between people who build wealth and people who wonder where their money went. Habit 6. Thinking saving alone will make you wealthy. This one is important. And I say it because most finance content only talks about saving, and saving alone is not a wealth-building strategy. Here's the math that most people don't see. Saving has a ceiling. There is a hard limit to how much you can cut. At some point, you've canceled every subscription, stopped eating out, and you're still limited by how much you earn. Frugality has a floor. But income? Income has no ceiling. Earning more through asking for a raise, building a side hustle, starting a business, investing in skills that make you more valuable has unlimited upside. The wealthiest people in the world did not get there by spending less. They got there by building income streams that compound over time. The real equation is this: save a higher percentage of a growing income. That combination, aggressive saving rate plus increasing income, is what creates actual wealth. If you are only focused on cutting expenses, you are working on half the equation. The other half is finding ways to earn more and directing every additional dollar you earn toward assets, not lifestyle. Ask for the raise, build something on the side, invest in yourself, and every time your income goes up, resist the lifestyle inflation we talked about earlier. Save your raise before you spend it. That combination is what changes everything. Habit 7. Overpaying in taxes without realizing it. This is the habit most people never even think about, and it might be the most expensive one on this list. Taxes are, for most Americans, the single largest expense in their entire life. Bigger than rent, bigger than a mortgage, bigger than anything else. And yet, most people approach their tax bill with complete passivity. They let it be calculated. They pay it. End of story. Here's what wealthy people do differently. They understand the tax code, not to break it, but to use it. Because the U.S. tax code is full of legal structures, accounts, and strategies designed to reduce your tax burden if you know they exist. A Roth IRA, for example. Contributions go in as after-tax dollars, grow completely tax-free, and qualified withdrawals in retirement are also tax-free. If you're in a lower tax bracket now than you expect to be later in life, and most young people are, a Roth IRA is one of the most powerful tools available to you. An HSA, a health savings account, gives you a triple tax advantage. Contributions are pre-tax, growth is tax-free, and withdrawals for medical expenses are tax-free. Nothing else in the tax code does that. If you're self-employed or running any kind of side business, operating through the right business structure opens up an entirely different level of deductions. I want to make a full video going deep on tax strategy for this audience. Let me know in the comments if that's something you want to see, because the difference between someone who understands taxes and someone who doesn't can easily be tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. The point is this: every dollar you legally keep from taxes is a dollar you get to invest. And invested dollars compound. Overpaid taxes don't. Habit 8. Waiting too long to invest. Let me show you something that I want you to actually feel, not just understand intellectually. If you invest $300 a month starting at age 25, and you earn a historical average market return of around 10% annually, by the time you're 60, you will have approximately $1 million. If you wait until 35 to start, same $300 a month, same return, you'll have around $380,000. Same habit, same discipline. A 10-year delay. The difference is over $600,000. That is the cost of waiting. Not in some abstract theoretical way. In real dollars that you will either have or not have, depending on a decision you make, or don't make, right now. The most common reasons people give for not investing yet are, I don't have enough money, I don't know where to start, and now isn't the right time because of the economy. Here's the truth about all three. You don't need a lot of money to start. You can begin with $50 a month. The amount matters less than the habit and the time. You don't need to be an expert. A simple, low-cost index fund, something like a total market or S&P 500 ETF, gives you diversified exposure to the entire U.S. market with essentially no expertise required. This is what I personally use as the foundation of my own portfolio. And there is never a perfect time to invest. The market will always have volatility. The people who wait for the right moment almost always wait too long. Time in the market has historically beaten timing the market. Every time. Your money sitting in a savings account right now is not safe. Inflation at even 3% a year means you are losing real purchasing power every single year it sits there. Not investing is a decision, and it is a decision that gets more expensive every month you delay it. Habit 9. Having a saver's mindset instead of an investor's mindset. This is the final habit, and in many ways, the most important one to end on, because everything we've talked about today, paying yourself first, eliminating bad debt, building a buffer, knowing your numbers, finding leaks, growing income, understanding taxes, investing early, all of it is connected by one underlying shift. The shift from thinking like a saver to thinking like an investor. A saver thinks, how do I hold on to more of what I have? An investor thinks, how do I make what I have work harder and grow over time? A saver sees money as something to protect. An investor sees money as something to deploy. And here's the thing about that mindset. It applies to far more than just your investment account. It applies to how you think about your time, your skills, your relationships, your career. The wealthy people I worked with in banking were not necessarily smarter than anyone else in the room, but they thought about resources, including money, as tools to build more resources, not as a score to protect. That shift in how you see money changes everything. It changes the questions you ask. It changes the decisions you make. It changes what you pay attention to and what you let go of. And it is absolutely available to you right now, regardless of your income, your background, or where you're starting from. You came into this video maybe feeling a little uncertain about money, maybe overwhelmed, maybe just curious. But look at where you are now. You understand why paying yourself last is quietly destroying your ability to build wealth and how to fix it today. You understand how bad debt compounds silently in the background of people's financial lives. You understand lifestyle inflation and how to recognize it before it swallows a raise whole. You know your numbers matter more than your feelings about money. You know that saving has a ceiling, but income doesn't. You know that taxes might be your biggest lifetime expense, and there are legal ways to reduce them. And you know that every single month you delay investing is a month of compounding you will never get back. That is not a small amount of knowledge. That is the foundation of an entirely different financial life. The people who watch this video and do nothing will be in exactly the same place a year from now. The people who pick even one of these habits, make one change this week, open the savings account, set up the automatic transfer, log into their brokerage and invest their first $50. Those people begin a chain reaction that genuinely changes their financial trajectory. Wealth is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built in the accumulation of small, consistent, intentional decisions, made over months and years, by a person who decided, at some point, that their future was worth the effort. You are watching this video, which means some part of you has already made that decision. Now go act on it. If this video gave you even one insight that shifted the way you think about money, subscribe. Not for me, for the version of yourself that is trying to build a financially secure, independent life. Because every week I put out content exactly like this, practical, honest, built on real experience, designed for people who are serious about changing their financial future. There's a video linked right here on exactly how to start investing with a small amount of money, from choosing the right account to the first fund to buy. If habit number 8 resonated with you, that is your next step. And drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 9 habits you recognized in yourself, because I guarantee at least one of them hit close to home. I'll see you in the next one.